Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about Deal or No Deal Island, Season 2, Episode 5, titled Trust Fall. Last week on Dondi, after an axe throwing challenge, Dr. Will sent Dixon to face the banker, but Big Dixon energy prevailed when he beat the banker, adding $5 million to the pot and blindsiding Maria Grace's booze storm. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. As always, my videos aren't meant to replace the original content, so if you missed the episode, I highly encourage you to seek it out on Peacock to enjoy and form your own opinion. But let's dive into it. The players get back home to celebrate Dixon's historic $5 million win. Big Dixon feels awesome for sticking it to Dr. Will. The family alliance is still intact with parents David and Parvati, but Maria Grace is resentful of her brother Dixon for cutting her boyfriend Storm. Philip has a really touching moment where he shares with us that in his life he's been bullied and wants to be a role model to somebody, showing them that it gets better. Parvati has really taken Philip under her wing and has a special connection with him. The non-family players are still pissed about Storm's departure, and heading into the daily challenge, they're rallied against the family. At the challenge, Joe is wearing a flirty animal print shirt that must be protected at all costs with an umbrella. Joe asks them to partner up, and Will and Dixon end up awkwardly partnered together when nobody wants to work with them. They'll head into the jungle one pair at a time, in secret, starting with Lachelle and Letty. Joe tells them they'll be competing against each other, sitting on a hammock that's rising, facing a tower between them. Along the tower, there are cases of random values, with no two cases that are on the same level containing the same amount. Their goal is to pick a case that's higher than their partner's. When they see a value that they like, they can pull their rope to drop their partner, which locks in their numbers on both sides. Through this, they can decide to be honest or lie to their opponent. The player with the higher number will be safe, and the loser will be at risk. And the player with the highest value case for the day will choose what at-risk player will face the banker. So Lachelle and Letty get started. Letty seems to have the better cases on her side, but Lachelle really wants to be safe, arguing that she's always up for elimination. Letty assures Lachelle that she'll advocate for her and takes the $3 million case, sending Lachelle falling to her death. No, I'm just kidding. She lived. Next are CK and Seychelle. Seychelle swears on everything in her life that she'll keep CK safe. Seychelle gets a $2.5 million case and is safe. Maria Grace and David are honest with each other and both drop each other, I guess for the thrill of it. David gets the bigger case with $2 million and is safe from elimination. Philip and Parvati both lie to each other about the values of their level 4 case, both saying it's 1.5 million. Philip had 1.6 and Parvati had 1.8, so Parvati is safe this week. Our girl lives to Dondi another day. Philip feels really scorned by this, even though he was lying to her just as much. Next is the grudge match between Dixon and Will. They both pull their ropes at the same time on the first level. Dixon has $825,000 and is safe. At the results, Dixon, Parvati, and David are safe. The family, which discuss Seychelle. So are Seychelle and Letty. Dr. Will isn't present. Joe says that Dr. Will is basically not there because he's having a diva BF backstage. Letty has the highest value case and will decide between Lachelle, CK, Maria Grace, Philip, and Will who will face the banker at the temple. Back at the house, Will tells us that his tantrum was all strategy because he wants to face the banker. Will starts telling them a convoluted story about the challenge and calling Dixon a weasel. Parvati is over Will and his stupid story and says she's going to bed and hopes the story ends soon. In the pods, Will is telling his story still. Seychelle is trying to convince Will not to target CK. Will promises Seychelle and Letty that if they pick him to play the banker and he wins, he'll send Maria Grace home. Seychelle tells us that seeing Maria Grace go home and hurting the family would be like watching Sex in the City for the first time. Dixon confronts Dr. Will in private, asking him why he thinks Dixon is a weasel. Will tells Dixon that he's getting rid of Nunya. Dixon asks, who's Nunya? Will's like, none of your damn business. This entire conversation made Dixon look like a fool. Of course Will think you're a weasel, you just screwed him over at the last round, and how do you not know Nunya? Come on now, this too much. So they head to the temple where Joe is wearing a crisp white jacket and a really awesome flaming pocket square. Letty chooses Will to face the banker, where Letty's $3 million case is the highest value on the board. Kamari and Ben are wearing red to match the pocket square, and we're off with Will picking 12, saying it's for no reason, my kind of pick. Will gets to picking cases, injecting some snark into it, and getting some high value cases. Will picks case number 1, then 2, then 3. Turns out he's just picking them in order, which is what I used to do on the Deal or No Deal DVD game, but is really annoying Parvati in real life. Chat, did anyone else play that game? After the first round, the banker insults Will and offers him $72,000 with a 63% chance of staying. Will quickly slams on the deal button, pissing everyone off. Parvati says that Will claimed he came here to add money to the pot and that's not what he's doing, to which Will calls Parvati the queen of honesty, sarcastically insinuating that she's a hypocrite, and David calls Will bitch made. Then Will informs Joe that according to the rules, he didn't really take the deal because Joe didn't ask him deal or no deal yet, and he was just testing the group. He says no deal, continuing his upward counting mission, and gets a second offer for $168,000 and a 2/3 chance of staying. He takes the second deal and opens his case, which contains $1,000. So he made a good deal and is safe, and gets to pick who goes home. Will makes a speech, which I'll paraphrase: "CK, you were mean to me," which is why I'm eliminating Maria Grace. The speech didn't really make sense, but seems like a spin-off from Dixon's speech. So we lose Maria Grace here, who was extremely under-edited. Overall, she was a copy-paste reality TV girly. She had her little showmance, the kissing and confessional. She somehow was in the family alliance, but it was never really explained why. Logically, she should have been friends with everyone else, especially after Dixon screwed her over. There was a perfect opportunity for her to bond with Dr. Will over something, but it just seems like she wasn't really playing, even though she did seem to have a good head on her shoulders and reality TV knowledge. I think her and Storm's boots were perfect fodder for the real plot that was happening on the show. Some other thoughts I had about this episode: of all the daily challenges so far, this one had the most potential to be something interesting, letting them lie to each other and steal, but they mostly ended up telling each other the truth and working together. I feel like there has to be a way to bake this concept up a little bit more, to be more insidious and get them to turn against each other out of greed. The star of this episode was Dr. Will, who had a lot of decisions to make, starting with his round where he faced off against Dixon. If I had to bet, I'm sure production laid out their cases in a way that Will had the advantage to actually be safe had they played that round out. Will didn't even try to be safe and outsmart Dixon, and announces that he has the low case. That was dumb. Then he pisses everyone off at the temple and seems to only really make a good deal with Seychelle. I still think CK and the family are going to come for him in the next few weeks. I really feel like we're getting down to the main characters on the show, so it's only getting better and better. But with that, that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about Will's big day and Maria Grace's departure? If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next Tuesday with more Dondi. I'm also recapping the Challenge All-Stars 5 and the Traders Season 3. Until next time, you know where to find me. Bye!